Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are going to start our lecture series for plant pathology. So first of all, we'll try to understand the basic concepts in plant pathology. So accordingly, we have following learning objectives for today. What is plant pathology? What is meant by plant disease? And how do we recognize plant disease? What are the causes of plant diseases? What is disease triangle and how environment affects plant disease development? So let us just first define what is plant pathology. So basically it is a field of biology, or you can say it is a field of biological sciences which actually deals with the study of plant diseases and what are the causes of the plant diseases and the mechanism by which these diseases do occur and the interaction between plants and the disease causing agents which are called pathogens. Okay, and overall, after understanding the relationship between the pathogen, the plant host and the environment, then to devise methods to manage the disease. Now these methods may be chemical methods or biological methods. So let's just understand what are plant diseases. Like animals, plant they also become ill. Okay, but the illness in plants is slightly different than that of the animals. A plant disease is termed as any abnormal condition that results in changes in the appearance or function of a plant. So what do we mean by this? This means that if we observe any change in the physical appearance of a plant, okay, or the function of a plant, like for example if we see a plant is wilted, or if we see that the normal color of the plant is green and we see some brown patches on it, then we may think that maybe the plant is suffering from an underlying disease. Okay, diseases are physiological processes and they may affect some part of a plant or they affect the whole plant structure as well as function, and this ultimately may reduce the yield of that plant if a plant is a crop plant, and also the quality of harvested product. That's why you see plant diseases have become so much important, because if the crops or you see the ornamental plants they suffer from a disease, then this incurs significant loss of yield and money. Now, disease is a process or a change that occurs gradually, unlike the mechanical or physical injury that occurs instantly. Now, here we have to differentiate between a disease condition and a mechanical injury. A mechanical injury occurs instantly, okay, while a disease it progresses slowly. So the disease will come gradually. It's not like that you observe a plant which is healthy at night and in the morning you see it is all wilted and it's broken and all. So it's not disease. There might be some mechanical injury. Okay. So it is very important to differentiate between mechanical injury and the disease. Now, how do we recognize that a plant has a disease? Okay, now first of all, by observation, visual observation will let us understand whether a plant is having a disease or not. And there are two terminologies which we use in plant pathology: the signs and the symptoms. Okay, now the signs and symptoms they go hand in hand. So what are symptoms? Symptoms are the visible effects of disease on plants. So any detectable change, for example in the color or the shape or the function of the plant in response to a pathogen or a disease causing agent, is known as symptom. For example, here we can see yellowing of leaf. Okay, so we can see the leaf has become yellow, but we do not know what's happening inside. So this, and which of the pathogen is causing, we cannot see a pathogen over here. So this condition is termed as a symptom. On the other hand, if we look at this leaf, also we see brown patches, but we do not see anything that is actually related to causing these brown patches. Again, these are symptoms. Here we see the wilting of leaf and the leaf is eventually falling. So this is again a symptom. But if we look at here on this particular leaf, we can see these small insects, okay, and these are mealybugs. So here we actually see the signs of the pathogen or the disease causing agent. Okay, similarly, if we look at here, we can see gray mold of the fungi, the botrytis, and this actually give us sign of presence of a pathogen. And here also we see white fly underneath this leaf. So again, this shows us the sign of presence of a pathogen. So what is the difference between sign and symptom? The symptom actually is a visual observation that actually tells us any abnormal change in the physical appearance of a plant, while signs are actually the presence or the evidence of the pathogen on a plant. So these signs, as we just saw from this photograph, so fungal fruiting bodies, the bacterial ooze, the nematode cysts, they're all signs. Okay, now so let us just see what are the causes of plant diseases. So plant diseases, if we just classify the causes of plant diseases, we can divide them into three types: the abiotic causes, the mesobiotic causes, and the biotic causes. So abiotic causes, as the name indicates, they are actually non-biological causes. So they are not caused by any pathogen, and they are due to the abiotic factors like nutrients, light, moisture, aeration, or abnormal soil conditions, or any atmospheric condition that leads to the disease in the plant. For example, black tip of mango. Now this black tip of mango is due to sulfur dioxide toxicity. Okay, whiptail of cauliflower, it is due to molybdenum deficiency. Bitter pit of apple due to calcium deficiency. So here are a few examples for abiotic causes. Then come the mesobiotic causes. Mesobiotic, the term mesobiotic mean the the organisms which are neither living or non-living. For example, the viruses. The viruses are considered at the border of living and non-living things. That's why they are termed as mesobiotic. Now, viruses are major pathogens of many plants, and they do cause several diseases on the plants. Now, viruses which causes diseases on the plant, we can use the term mesobiotic for two types of such particles: the viruses, the true viruses, which have a inside nucleic acid, RNA or DNA, and which is enclosed by a coat protein. Okay, examples are the potato leaf roll and leaf curl viruses, and leaf curl viruses mainly affect the tomatoes and chilies and other vegetables, and mostly other viruses, they cause mosaic disease like yellow mosaic disease. Then viroids. Viroids are actually particles which are naked. They have a nucleic acid, but they are not coated by the protein coat. So potato spindle tuber, chrysanthemum stem, star crack of apple, so these are caused by viroids. Then comes the biotic cause, pathogens, or we can say the biotic causes of plant diseases. So biotic causes can be divided into two main types: the prokaryotic and the eukaryotic. Now when we talk about prokaryotic, we know that bacteria, then bacteria-like organisms which are unicellular and which do not have a true nucleus, they are all prokaryotes, and they cause several diseases like bacterial canker disease, okay, bacterial blight disease on the plant, and similarly the phytoplasmas which are wall-less prokaryotes, and they cause diseases like P-checks. They cause diseases like witch's broom in lime, which is very common in Oman. And then some fastidious bacteria like Xylella fastidiosa, which causes the almond leaf scrotch, paste disease of the grapevine. So different kinds of bacteria and phytoplasma, they cause many diseases on the plants. Okay, some of the examples of bacterial diseases are written here also. Then eukaryotic pathogens. So eukaryotic pathogens are fungi, straminophores, protozoa, algae, metazoan animals, and parasitic flowering plants. So fungi, like most of the diseases, nearly 80% of the plant diseases, they are caused by the fungi. And there are some kinds of fungi like Alternaria species, they infect wide variety of plants. Then straminophores or oomycetes, they cause downy mildews, late blight of potato, white rust of crucifers, damping off. And then come protozoans. Protozoans also cause diseases in like coconut palm and phloem necrosis of coffee trees. Then algae, red rust of mango or papaya or lychee is caused by algae. Now metazoan animals, which metazoan animals? Nematodes. Nematodes also, they are pathogenic to plants, and they mostly cause the root knot of the plants, mostly in tomatoes and brinjals. Then ear crockle of wheat and citrus decline. So all of these diseases are caused by the nematodes. So we are going to discuss all these pathogens one by one in next coming lectures. Today we are just trying to become familiar with different kinds of pathogens. Now parasitic flowering plants, some of the plants, they also act as parasites on the other plants. And what do? They just grow on these plants, and they try to take all the nutrients from the plants. So dodder, striga, and loranthus and phorodendron, etc., they are all the examples of parasitic plants. Then it's important to understand the relationship between a pathogen, a host, and environment. Now pathogen, we know what is a pathogen that causes a disease onto a plant. Host, the host plant where a pathogen comes and attacks. And environment is the environment where the host plant is living. Now you see, the environment also plays a very important role in host and pathogen interaction. For example, some of the environment are conducive for the growth of fungal pathogen. Some of the environments, they support the growth of bacterial pathogen, while some of the environment prevent the occurrence of disease on the plants. Okay, so there is a complex interaction going on between pathogen, host, and the environment. Okay. Now, so how do the disease develop? Disease develop because of interaction between the host, the pathogen, and the environment. Okay. Now, sometimes the conditions of the environment, they make a host susceptible, or sometimes the genetic makeup of a plant also makes it susceptible towards a pathogen. For example, some varieties of rice, they are resistant to the Pyricularia oryzae, the rice blast fungus, while other varieties are not. So the ones which are resistant, they are saved from the pathogen, and the ones which are susceptible, they are attacked by the pathogen. And obviously the environment also plays its role. Okay, and then comes the time. The time is also very important. So there is specific point of time at which a particular event in disease development occurs, and the duration or length of time during which the events take place. So time is also very important. Okay, and if we want to effectively control a disease, so we have to look into all of these factors which are responsible for development of the disease. Now, effective disease control or measures aim at breaking this EHP triangle, means the environment, the host, and pathogen. Now, if we look at the development of disease in plants, so there are two types of pathogens, the monocyclic pathogen and or the diseases, and the polycyclic ones. What do we mean by this? Monocyclic diseases, they are caused at one time point during the life cycle of a plant. And how are they characterized? Primary inoculum, actually it reaches the host, then dispersal of inoculum takes place, then the infection cycle begins, and the inoculum of the pathogen then infects the plant, causes the infection and colonization, and survives there, and this is repeated. Okay, now in polycyclic diseases, what happens that this cycle is repeated, okay, at another time point. For monocyclic diseases, for example, the early blight of tomato or potato. Okay, so if this occurs only at one time point, only for example within the first month or the first and the second month of the crop cycle, then this means that it is a monocyclic disease. But sometimes these diseases reoccur towards the end stage, so they become polycyclic. Okay, so what happens, the primary inoculum reaches the plant, then it is dispersed, and then infection takes place, and then you see infection and colonization of the plant, and then with this secondary inoculum is produced, and then secondary inoculum is dispersed, and it causes another cycle of infection. Okay, so this is the difference between two types of diseases, monocyclic diseases and polycyclic diseases. Now, monocyclic and polycyclic diseases also depend upon the environment. If the environment is conducive to begin another cycle of the disease, so the disease will come on repeatedly. Okay. Then, how environment affects the plant disease development? As we just discussed now, that environment plays a very critical role in development of the disease. Okay, even the most susceptible plants, if they are exposed to a huge amount of pathogen, will not develop disease unless until the environment is favorable for the pathogen to flourish. Okay, so this actually indicates the importance of environment in disease development. Now let's just see here in this particular picture, we can see plant resistance. So the health of the plant is stronger, and here if it is weaker, the resistance is weaker, then the plant becomes sick or it catches the disease. Same thing here, pathogen virulence. So if the virulence is weak, so plant remains healthy. But if virulence is strong, the plant gets disease. Now obviously this is also dependent on the environmental variables. What are the environmental variables? Most important, temperature, humidity, and carbon dioxide. So they play a role in determining the health of the plant, whether a plant will be healthy or the plant will be weak and will catch the disease. It also depends on the environmental factor which actually influence the virulence of the pathogen. Okay, now let us just see the disease, the health state. Now here, when a plant is healthy, even after the presence of the pathogen, then this implicates that pathogen virulence is weaker, survival of the pathogen is weaker, spore germination is weak, and the expression of virulence factor is also weak, and similarly the virulence factor delivery is weak. Okay, so as a result the plant itself is strong. Now this also indicates that the plant is healthy, growing normally, it has a stronger immune response, and it has normal abiotic conditions which actually support the healthy plant growth. On the other hand, here we see a diseased plant. Okay, so obviously when the plant is catching disease, so it will have a altered growth, it will have weaker immune response and altered abiotic response. As a result, the pathogen is gaining entry. It is surviving more, it is developing more spores, it has a strong virulence factor, and expression of the virulence factor is also very strong. And in fact, the inoculum dispersal is more and infection is really strong. As a result, the plant is having a disease. And obviously, environment has a lot of role to play here. Okay, the environment is here supportive to the pathogen and not the plant. Okay, so what do we learn today? What have we learned today? We have learned that what is plant pathology and what do we understand by plant diseases? What is the relationship between the pathogen which caused the disease, the host, the plant which is suffered by the pathogen, and the environment? In the next lecture, we are going to see, we are going to learn more about different kinds of pathogen and how do they infect the plant. Okay, thank you.